Are you looking to implement more positivity at your workplace or in your business? Well, you're in luck because in today's episode, I interview my amazing friend Luke Burrows, who has really mastered how to implement positivity anywhere he goes at such a young age. He's so young, he's like 24 years old. So if you want to figure out how you can also implement more positivity into your workplace, into your business, into any area of your life, make sure to stay till the very end of the episode where Luke gives us his step-by-step process on how to do that. But just quickly, before we dive in, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get weekly notifications as to when I put out new videos. They're going to be absolutely everything to do with mindset, personal development, positivity, a little bit about business, anything that you need to do with those topics, I'm going to be making videos on, so make sure to subscribe. Okay, now let's dive into the episode. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Business Podcast. I am so excited today to be joined by my online internet friend, Luke Burrows. We've been following each other on socials and sort of connecting and engaging with each other for quite a while. And I had the privilege of being on his podcast called Redefine Your 20s the other week. So I thought I would do him an honor and also bring him on mine as well, because I'm so excited for him to share his message and what he's doing with the world. So Luke, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on. I mean, I really enjoyed when you came on to Redefine Your 20s. I think it was like episode 2 or 3 or something, really new, that podcast that we're doing over there. So, I love that conversation. So I'm really looking forward to today as well.
You said that when you were stuck in this 9 to 5, you were sort of riddled with feeling anxious and feeling like you had depression, but you still continued to stay in that job. Why do you think that is? Why did you stay even though you were feeling these feelings and having these thoughts?
So habit, a bit like you just get into like that routine. So I always believed like I would get out of that.
Yeah.
Like that, even like with the depression in that state. So I never wouldn't recommend this to anyone. Like I'm not a doctor, but the doctor prescribed me like pills and everything, and I wouldn't take them because I knew like there was a better way. Like I'm very much a person who is more like long-term focused, right? So I knew in the long term, like I would overcome kind of these things. And so what I was doing is I was staying in that job and it was terrible and I hated it, but I was using the money that I was obviously getting from my job to then build my business, because I didn't necessarily have a huge amount of savings or anything to then start my business and to build the business. Then I was like thinking more about the long term. But again, like I could have got another, a different job. And I did apply for a few. And then about 3 years later or so, I did switch. But yeah, I was there for more time that I liked. But yeah, again, to answer your question, I think it was just like routine and comfort in that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a job that was causing like depression and anxiety. There was also things with like friends and things like that as well. So it was kind of like whatever area of my life type of thing, there was like something going on. And so then it just compounded ultimately.
Gotcha. And was there sort of like a defining moment where you thought, okay, enough is enough, I actually have to get out of this job? Or was it more so, oh, this is a cool opportunity that I've been presented with through, you said the network marketing?
Yeah, I think it was more the opportunity. So even when I left that job, so I was still building my business and I moved to another job, but it was more part-time. So again, I was still using the wage from that job to invest in like my businesses and that. So even with that, then that was a cool opportunity because that was a work from home job, like literally where I live, like in my community type of thing. It was actually linked to a little bit of like personal development anyway, because it was working with people and developing people within like where I live, like my local community. So I was kind of using the things that I learned through personal development in that role as well. So yeah, it was more kind of that opportunity presented itself, and I was like, yes, and so even like the 9 to 5 job that I was doing, they like, offered me more money and like offered me to stay, and I was like, no, like I just kept like rejecting, and I was like, I don't even care about the money. Like you can pay me whatever you want per hour. I'm taking this opportunity because 1, it's less hours, so I can spend more time focusing on what I want to do, and 2, it's literally like a 5-minute walk from where I live. And 3, I'm going to be enjoying it much more than I am this, because, you know, for the past 3-4 years, I've been stuck behind a desk, and now I'm going to be outside type of, you know, in the community talking to people and that. So, you know, I rejected all the pay rises that they said and kind of all these things. Like, I'm out of here, mate. Like, you know, so even like 18 months before, I tried to hand in my notice, but then they offered me more money, and I was like, okay. But then this time I was like, no, I'm out of here for good, you know?
That's so funny. And I think probably also what they maybe don't understand is, because you are driven and interested in personal development and wanting to start your own business, you don't really actually want to be working just for an hourly wage. You want to be building something for yourself that you can scale and grow and like turn into a movement if you want to, like you're doing with Grow Together. And they probably just didn't understand that you had that drive and ambition. And that's why you needed only a part-time job, so that you could focus on building your other side hustles and things at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I still wanted to go full time, but there was also like the practicalities with it as well. You know, and the business wasn't making what I needed to go full time.
Yeah.
So even with like the community job that I was doing, like there was still that aspect to it. But like you say, it was more even linked to what I wanted to do, because it was still working more with people and developing people, like helping them with their confidence, so then they could do more in the community to, you know, become, you know, create that like community spirit and everything. So even right from that aspect, I felt like it was something more that I wanted to do. And, you know, there was a part of that job or kind of that company as well, where they encourage kind of like side hustles and side projects and entrepreneurship. Yeah, I felt it was a good opportunity and good fit. And then I became a director, so it was worked out well in the end.
Oh, amazing. Cool. And so once you sort of had that little bit of extra time to work on your own stuff, and you really got clear on your vision and what you actually did want to create, that was more focused around passion and purpose and actually helping people, what did you create? Can you explain Grow Together for the audience?
Grow Together is pretty much a online personal growth community and education platform that helps people to become a better version of themselves. So our 3 main areas are quite broad, but then I work with coaches and mentors within these different areas to create specific trainings and content and other resources that helps people to accomplish that ultimate goal. Because for me, whatever way we look at it, that's what I believe we're all trying to accomplish, just like that better version of ourselves. So we have self-discovery, which is more about discovering obviously like who you are, your life values, your core beliefs, etc., your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, you know, raising the awareness around these things. Then personal growth, so that confidence, that leadership, that growth mindset, etc. And then diving into entrepreneurship, so taking what you are passionate about, or what you do enjoy, and building a side hustle around it. Because you could like your or love your job, you know, people do, don't they? And so like they're not kind of all end up like myself, like just hate what they do. So some people might love or like their job, but then my thing is to build a side hustle or something from 6 to 9, not just for the financial benefits that kind of can come from that, but also for that, in a way, like that self-expression. You know, if you've got a side hustle blog or podcast where you're talking about something you're passionate about, like that's a part of like your truth per se. And so you're sharing that with the world, and that's ultimately what I'm all about. So it's not necessarily about everyone becoming an entrepreneur or building their own business. It's about doing something that you love. And I think a part of that for some people could be a side hustle or side project. But a lot of people that we kind of help as well is to build a main thing around what they love to do. So that's when we transition into the more the entrepreneurship section and content in that.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think it's so important to make that distinction between, well, it's important to acknowledge that it's okay to not want to start a side hustle. I think it's become such a huge thing because of social media and entrepreneurship blowing up, that people feel pressure to turn their passions into side hustles and monetize them somehow. But it's completely okay if you just want to start a podcast and just talk about whatever you love doing, or start painting or whatever you do, you don't have to actually monetize it. I get people reaching out to me on Instagram sometimes saying like, what if I don't want to start a business? Like, what if I just want to have this as my passion? Or what if I like my job? That's another one. Like, what if I like my job? And I'm like, that is totally fine. I'm not telling you should quit your job if you like it. I'm talking to the people that are unhappy and that don't like it. And I think that's the important distinction that we need to make is it's okay to love your job. It's okay to love the security. And maybe you have a job that you're so passionate about. But if you're unhappy, if you don't like your situation, do something about it and change it. But I think it's totally okay to actually have your passions on the side as well without having to monetize.
For sure. Like, again, it could just be that self-expression. You know, if somebody loves sports and just love talking about sports and, you know, then start that podcast. And then maybe, you know, in 5 years, 10 years, especially when you like play for the more long term, that opportunity could come up where something bigger can come from that, but you're not necessarily focusing on trying to make that happen because you're just doing it for the enjoyment and for the love of it. And if that did happen, then that's like a bonus type of thing, you know? And so, you know, I'm definitely all about that. But then like a question that I get is like, Luke, what is my passion? Like, what could I build that side thing around? And so then I go into like the space of, well, what have you tried type of thing. I think then it's about trying different things to find what you're passionate about and being open-minded to that, but starting from like your interests and that as well. Like we all know things that we're interested in, and so I think if we can start from there, then that might be a good starting point.
Because a lot of people actually don't know what they like doing and don't have hobbies. Like I have a lot of guy friends who feel like they can't really play sport anymore because they're injured or getting too old or whatever. They feel like they don't actually really know what they're passionate about or what their hobbies are. And that's the exact advice that I give them is just go out and try some things. And even if you try 50 things and you don't like any of them, at least you're 50 things closer to finding the thing that you do like. But I think it's so hard for people to actually like find the motivation to go out and try things, which I don't really understand why. Because I'm very much an action taker. Maybe you have some advice on this is like, why are people complacent and just stay at home and aren't actually willing to like go out and try things, do you reckon?
I think it could be a lot of different reasons. I think maybe, so like other people's opinions come to mind, you know, if it's like their spouse or if it's boyfriend, girlfriend or parents or brother or like just people who mean the most to them, like what would they think type of thing. I think it's like their own insecurities could hold them back, like the limiting beliefs in that. And so that's why I like such a huge advocate of personal growth, because through personal growth, you can start to overcome those things. You can start to overcome those things and move forward. And so, you know, that's a huge part of obviously Grow Together and that and what I'm sharing and obviously what you're sharing as well. So that's why, you know, I'm encouraging people to start that personal growth journey, to start to overcome those things, to then find what they do want, to then go out and take action and pursue that. I mean, I've kind of been on this thing recently as well. I'm thinking like it could be easier to work out the things that we don't want, so then we can go out there and pursue the things that we do want. We may know that we don't necessarily want to be, I'm just like picking examples of like unhealthy or like, you know, depressed or anxious or kind of all these emotions. So if we know we don't want those things, then just eliminate the things in our lives that make us that. And then it becomes more clear on the things that we do want, so then we can start to take action towards those.
Yeah, totally. I love that. The concept of sort of like reverse engineering. Okay, well, what is making me feel these shitty and negative emotions? Okay, let's not do that anymore. What makes me feel happy and positive and confident and motivated? Okay, let's move closer towards that. If somebody is just sort of starting on their personal growth journey and they don't really know where or what to do to get started, if they're maybe they have a business or they have a job that they're not super passionate about, because it happens with businesses as well, right? We start businesses just to make more money, but we don't actually think about, am I passionate about this? So if someone's feeling that way, or if they're in a job that they don't really like, what are some sort of personal growth tools or strategies that they could start to look at that will help them to go down the path that you went down yourself?
So the approach I try and take is working from like the inside out. So really getting to know like yourself. And so that ultimately that self-discovery kind of journey and process in itself, like I think that's a lifelong thing. But I think once you get to the point where you're consciously aware of your life values, your core beliefs, the things that you are good at, and kind of these type of things, I think that's somewhere that I would encourage people to start like reflecting on things, right? To start connecting with like your inner self, sitting down, taking that time to reflect and writing out what you are good at, writing out what you don't like, writing out what you do like, writing out kind of these type of things to bring more awareness to them, then start to take action on that. The action part is really important, but I think there has to be a level of awareness of the things that like you are good at and do like, but even like the life values, beliefs and everything. Just spend that time just connecting with like that inner self. I kind of think like the basics, and what I mean by that is actually eating well, exercising and sleep. We all know they're like the basics, but we don't do them. We get 4 hours sleep, we eat shitty food, and we don't do any exercise, we watch Netflix all day. In a way, even for business, it's like still having that balance and still doing those things, because then you're going to be in a more better state of mind to then go out there and take action on the things that you want to do.
People are always talking about, okay, read these books, like listen to these podcasts, watch these YouTube episodes, blah, blah, blah. But like exercising, eating healthy and getting good sleep, that's what makes a huge difference. Because I know for myself, if I don't get like a solid 7 or 8 hours sleep per night, I am a cranky, horrible person that no one wants to be around. And same when I'm eating unhealthy, it really makes me feel shitty about myself. I start to get brain fog, like I can't think as clearly, I don't have as good ideas, like it all affects, like everything affects everything. But yeah, I guess your mind is so affected by your physical body. So fueling it with the correct food and exercising is such an important thing. Just sort of getting back to the foundations and the basics of really like looking after you at like a physical level, to then be able to go emotionally in and then look at some of that work emotionally inside as well. Luke, if people are interested in Grow Together or being a part of your program and what you're creating, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so if you want to connect with me direct, I'm across every platform. I'm still trying to work out TikTok, but there we go. That's a different topic for another day. So people can find me at Real Luke Burrows. And if people want to check out Grow Together, then go to growtogethernetwork.com. The 2 is the number 2, so growtogethernetwork.com. We're also on social media, so just type that in and you'll be able to find us. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Do you want to mention your podcast as well? Because you have an amazing podcast that I would love everyone to go and listen to.
For sure. So we actually have 2. So we have the Grow Together podcast, and then Redefine Your 20s, the one that Taylor came on to. So the Redefine Your 20s, guys, is my newest one. And it's really about helping young people to really dive into this world of personal growth, personal development, because as Taylor shared her story on the show, and, I've seen it a lot, we're just friends in that, get into these habits and routines of ultimately living for Friday night and the weekend. And so for me on Redefine Your 20s is about using this time in our 20s to actually build something meaningful and for like the future and the long term, rather than getting to 30, 35, even later, and having all these regrets because we've wasted our younger years. So that's really what that show is about. Please check that out as well.
Amazing. Luke, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Guys, go and check out his stuff. It's amazing. I love the content that he's posting. It resonates with me so much because I feel like we just share a lot of the same core values and we have a similar mission in life, and we're trying to sort of go down the same path. You definitely want to give him a follow, guys. Luke, thank you so much for joining me on the show. If there was one last thing that you could say to the audience, what would you want to say?
Trust yourself and take massive action towards the things that you want in your life.
Amazing. Guys, you heard it here first. Get back to the foundations and your health and your sleep and your what you're eating. Then do some inner work so that you can learn to trust yourself, and then take massive action, because that's really what it's all about. And you're not going to see any change in your life unless you do take massive action. So Luke, thank you so much, guys. Until the next episode, we'll see you later. Bye. Whoa, was that not amazing? I feel like Luke provided so much value and really broke down for us how you can start to implement more positivity into your life. So if you feel the same way that I felt about that episode, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you get weekly notifications as to when I put out new videos like this one. And if you feel like you need absolutely any support with anything to do with your business, with your mindset, with anything personal development, basically how to become the best version of you possible, please make sure to shoot me an email, coachtaylorvictoria@gmail.com, and I will be able to help you out with absolutely anything that you need. And until the next episode, I'll see you later. Bye!